Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Let's all take our seats. You'll have a chance to hug people and say, how was your holiday? Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while when we take a little break to serve the meal. But for now, if we can get seated and start our program in about 60 seconds. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello and welcome, welcome, welcome. I know this is probably the first major events that you've seen each other since Christmas. Welcome, everyone. Great to see you all again this year. I know it's a little chilly outside, so we appreciate you coming in from the cold. Get your hands warmed up, snuggle up to somebody. Hopefully they're kind of cute, somebody sitting next to you. Welcome everyone to the 39th annual Welcome to the 39th annual presentation of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Business Awards, brought to you by Health One and Molson Coors Beverage Company. I'm Tamara Banks, and I am so thrilled, well, not thrilled to be cold, but I'm glad to be back with you here today to be your MC this afternoon, and it's great to see all these amazing cold little faces, some familiar faces, some new faces. For those of you who've never been here before to this event, let me tell you a little bit about what happens. We get a chance to honor 6 super duper amazing individuals, including somebody who is a trailblazer in the civil rights movement right here in Colorado. We will have a great keynote speaker. We will have a beautiful vocalist, one who I know is very familiar to all of you. She is world-renowned. And we have some delicious food to eat. I have been cooking all day just for you. Not. Those of you who know me know that's a fib. But before we jump into all of that, let us give thanks to all of our blessings here today. To lead us in prayer, it is my privilege to introduce Evangelist Dr. Tyann Jones, the First Lady and Assistant Pastor at God's Will Christian Fellowship. Pastor.
Good afternoon. It is humbling to be here among such a great group of activists, entrepreneurs, and advocates for the legend of Dr. Martin Luther King. As I prayed on what to pray for, God gave me the beginning of this prayer, but the end of this prayer is a prayer that Dr. King has prayed many times throughout several churches, behind many pulpits and podiums. Let us bow. Heavenly Father, make your presence known and allow your blessings to flow in this place, in among your people. But you, Lord, are a shield around us, and you give us glory. You're the one who lifts our head up high. I call out to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy mountain. We lie down and we sleep, and we wake again, and the Lord sustains us. Most gracious and all-wise God, before whose face the just generation rises and falls, thou, in whom we live and move and have our being, we thank thee for all the good and gracious gifts, for life and for health, for food and for raiment, for the beauties of nature, the love of human nature. We come before thee, painfully aware of our inadequacies and shortcomings. We realize that we stand surrounded with the mountains of love, and we deliberately dwell in the valley of hate. We stand amid the forces of truth and deliberately lie. We are forever offered the high road, and yet we choose to travel the low road. For these, Lord, forgive us. Break the spell that binds our minds. Purify our hearts that we may see thee, O God, in these turbulent days when fear and doubt are mounting high. Give us broad visions, penetrating eyes, the power of endurance. Help us to work and renew vigor in this world and bring a worldless war to this world, for a better distribution of health, for brotherhood and sisterhood that transcends race and color. For you, O eternal God, out of those absolute power and infinite intelligence, the whole universe has come into being. We humbly confess that we have not loved as our hearts and souls and minds. We have not loved our neighbors as Christ loved us. We have all too often lived by our own selfish impulses rather than the life of sacrificial love as revealed by Christ. We often give in order to receive. We love our friends, but we hate our enemies. We go the first mile, but dare not travel the second. Forgive us that we dare not forget. And so, as we look into ourselves, we are confronted with the appalling fact that the history of our lives is the history of eternal revolt against thee. But God, oh God, have mercy upon us. Forgive us for what we could have been but failed to be. Give us the intelligence to know thy will. Give us the courage to do thy will. Give us the devotion to love thy will. In the name and the Spirit of Jesus, we pray. And everyone said, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Now, there are few songs that move me more than Lift Every Voice and Sing. And that was first performed as a poem in honor of Abraham Lincoln's birthday back in 1900, and it was performed by 500 Florida school children. James Weldon Johnson wrote the words, and his brother John wrote the music. The song became known as the Black National Anthem, right? It's a song that every one of us knows, every lyric to every word and every verse, right? But just in case you don't, someone is going to bless us with their talent. One of the few Denver natives, a true jewel here in the Mile High City, Mary Louise Lee began performing at a very early young age. For more than 30 years, she has built an extraordinary performing career as a vocalist, actress, band leader, and highly sought after vocal coach, mentor, and director. Please welcome the fabulous Mary Louise Lee.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicings rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. I was born by the river in a little tent. And just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the skies. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes, it will. I go to the movies and I go downtown, and all my friends said, Mary, don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes, it will. Then I go to my brother and say, brother, help me please. Then he winds up knocking me down, 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 down on my knees. There were times that I thought I wouldn't last for long, but now I know I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes, it will.
Mary Louise Lee, everybody. What? Wow. You know, people kind of take for granted if you're from Denver, but Mary Louise Lee is an internationally renowned vocalist, so we are so blessed to have her here today. Speaking of today and this event, this luncheon, if I can have your attention for just a few more moments, and then we can eat. You can eat, but just, don't chew real loud. The Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Colorado Holiday Commission was formed back in 1986. And this luncheon is one of many events that happen the week prior to the holiday and throughout the weekend. So all of that information is in your program, so you can find out what time the parade starts, what's happening this weekend, and all that jazz. And to find out and give you a little bit more information about what the commission does during these events and planning and what they do during the rest of the year, please welcome the commission chair, Dr. Vern L. Howard.
Good afternoon. Welcome. We thank each and every one of you for being here. It was April 4th of 1984 that Mrs. Webb got House Bill 1201 passed. This is our 40th anniversary. Let's give Mrs. Webb a hand, please. I love this event because when it was started, it was so the business community, it was originally started so business and labor could come together. That was another vision of this wonderful trailblazer, the Honorable Wilma J. Webb. And we had a meeting earlier this year, or last year, and we went back to our roots, making sure that we were recognizing businesses. And I'm so proud to say congratulations to CBS 4, the Denver Art Museum, the American Red Cross and Diversity Business Center, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, Jacobs Technology, or Engineering, U.S. Bank, and a dear, dear friend of ours, real good friend, Peggy Wortham, a silent warrior. However, this event has been going on for, go ahead, yes, please. I'm having some hand troubles, folks, so I really can't do a whole lot. So I'm going to ask Dr. Terry Nelson if she'll join me up here, who is the vice chair of the Dr. King Commission. For 30 years, a young man who's been running this event for us has been doing it behind the scenes. He has more work done by March than most folks will have done all year. And if I may, Dr. Nelson, we'd like to honor that young man, Stephen Strait. Thank you. And it says the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Colorado Holiday Commission would like to thank Stephen Strait for 30 years of exemplary service. That doesn't mean he's retiring. No, we're not letting him go. No, we're not replacing him. He will be here for another 30 years or until God says otherwise. Or Stephen, congratulations, my brother.
Thank you. I get to say something. Wow, what a surprise. 30 years, I've never been up on the stage before, so this is a great experience. First, I want to thank the commission, Dr. Howard, my dear friend, Terry, and all the sponsoring organizations over here for putting up with me for this long. It's been wonderful. A special thanks to Mayor and Mrs. Webb. Their support and guidance over the years has just been phenomenal and very appreciated. Yeah, big hand. And I'd also like to thank my colleague and friend and partner, Tamara Banks, who's been the MC of this for all those 30 years. This has been such an incredible experience for me because the people I've been able to meet, the 225 honorees that I have met during my tenure, and all of the keynote speakers, mayors and governors and senators and cabinet makers and cabinet makers, that's good, cabinet members, have really been an inspiration over the years. But most of all, I'd like to thank all of you people who've supported this event over the years. In the 30 years that I've been doing this, I am humbled and proud to say we have raised over $1 million for college scholarships for minority students. So thank you very much. Thank you.
One more quick thing. Will the commissioners please stand and wave, and all of our staff, please stand and wave for the crowd, please. I'd be remiss if I didn't. Thank you. Thank you. And let's not forget this afternoon at 4 o'clock, we have the Building Trust Summit hosted by the Greater Metropolitan Denver Ministerial Alliance at the Doubletree on Iliff at 4 p.m. The U.S. Department of Justice, the police chiefs and sheriffs from the 6 county areas will be there. It's the Building Trust Summit. Please be there with us this afternoon. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Stephen. You know, it's always great to come to these events and eat and talk to people, and it takes quite a lot of work to put something like this on. So again, thank you, Stephen, for your hard work. Many of you may not know this, but April 4th, 1984 was quite a unique and special day here in Colorado. That's when Governor Richard Lamb signed the historic legislation to officially recognize Martin Luther King Day as a holiday right here in the state of Colorado. That legislation was sponsored by then State Representative Wilma J. Webb. Now, let me tell you, the introduction I have is like 2 seconds, but the work, the late nights, early mornings, years, time after time after time to try to pass this bill was no joke. Mrs. Webb put in the hard work, rolled up her sleeves, blood, sweat, and tears, and made this King holiday a real thing. Please welcome, if you will, the former First Lady of Denver and Chair Emeritus of the Colorado Holiday Commission, the Honorable Wilma J. Webb.
Wow, you all are great. First of all, I would like to thank Vern Howard and Terry Nelson and all of the commission and Stephen Strait and former First Lady Mary Louise Lee and former Mayor of Denver, and he happens to be my husband too. I would like to thank all of you for all of what you've done in terms of the input of making this holiday a success. Thank all of them. Let's give them another hand of applause. I'm going to try to keep my remarks brief today because I know we have some time limitations, but I want to say what I want to say, so I'm going to say it fast, so I hope that you understand what I say. Okay. You know, a lot of people around the country now are saying that our nation is so divided, but because of your participation and because of the knowledge that you have sought out and because of the togetherness that we have done since the assassination of Dr. King and before, I want to say that we are not as far apart as this world thinks. Good people know what's going on, and they act when they have to act. So I'm depending on you, and I'm thanking you for all of what you've done for the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., because his life and his work is still good today. So thank all of you. Thank you very much. As Tamara was saying, on April the 4th, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. And then on April the 8th, 1968, which is 4 days after the assassination of Dr. King, Michigan Congressman John Conyers introduced the very first bill in the United States Congress to make Dr. King's birthday a national holiday, 4 days after he was assassinated. And then in January of 1973, Colorado State Representative Wellington E. Webb and State Senator George Brown introduced a resolution to honor Dr. King. And then in 1974, State Representative Wellington E. Webb introduced the first bill in Colorado to make Dr. King's birthday a state holiday in Colorado. I'm proud of that. Come on, give him a hand, he deserves it. As we fast forward, Wellington tried 3 times unsuccessfully to get the state holiday bill passed. And then in 1984, as a Colorado State representative, I introduced the Dr. King Birthday Holiday Bill for a fourth time, where that bill, House Bill 1201, remember that because people always say business people are very smart, so remember that. House Bill 1201 was finally approved by the Colorado General Assembly in March of 1984. And on April the 4th, 1984, Colorado Governor Richard D. Lamb signed that bill into law. And then I advocated to our governor, Richard D. Lamb, with the assistance of Mrs. Coretta Scott King, to establish the Colorado Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Commission, and we established a 7-day celebration, and we created those 7 days to commemorate the life of Dr. King, which included this business luncheon that is occurring every Friday prior to the Monday that Dr. King's birthday is celebrated. So this luncheon has been celebrated ever since 1986, and you need to give yourselves a hand for that. What is very striking on that note is that the last time that House Bill 1201 was being carried and being heard in committee, there was a public relations person coming down to the state capitol to speak in behalf of the business community. That person was going to testify that we did not need a holiday for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he came in the morning and was listening to all of the testimony that was going on in the hearing. And then he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, Representative Webb, he said, I can't vote against this bill. I cannot speak against this bill. I'm going to call all of the business associations and get permission to change our support and come in this committee this afternoon to support the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. That was you all, the business community. He was a brave person for doing that, and they all agreed to it. And you need to know that. During Mayor Wellington Webb's 3 terms as Denver's first black mayor and as First Lady, I worked with the Colorado artist known as the worldwide Ed Dwight to create a new sculpture of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Denver City Park, which features Dr. King facing the south, standing on the shoulders of Mahatma Gandhi, Sojourner Truth, Frederick Douglass, and Rosa Parks. And now all of us stand on his shoulders, their shoulders, and those who have championed civil rights before us. And it is our duty and responsibility to move forward. So today, 40 years later, the dream lives on as evidenced by not only the national and state celebration of Dr. King, but also by all of you who are here at this luncheon. I want to congratulate all of the businesses that are being honored here today, and I also want to commend the Martin Luther King Jr. Colorado Holiday Commission for ensuring that we keep the dream alive. If Dr. King were here today, he would fight for an economic policy that allows us to address the homelessness issue, a sane immigration policy, the protection of Israel as a nation, and a 2-state solution providing for a homeland for Palestinians. Let us all continue to work together, because although they killed the dreamer, they cannot kill the dream. Thank you all. Thank you for all the support all these years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Okay, everybody, enjoy lunch, and we'll be back with the program in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're going to continue on with our program. If I can get your attention just a few more minutes. You can eat and talk softly. We got too many mirrors over in this side of the room. Okay, now welcome back. I know we're still serving a little bit, some food being set down right now, but I know some of you have a 3-day weekend, want to make it a 3.5-day weekend, and valet ain't no joke, so we're going to keep the program rolling here. We want to take a moment to thank our sponsors this afternoon. This event, this fabulous event would not be possible without the generous support of Molson Coors Beverage Company, our presenting sponsor. Let's give Molson Coors a big round of applause. Health One is another presenting sponsor. Thank you so very much. U.S. Bank, providing our financial services sponsor. Southwest Airlines, our corporate sponsor. Thank you, Southwest, for the lift from Atlanta to Denver, back to Atlanta. Appreciate you. CoBank is our award video sponsor. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now let me just read a list of our gold and gold patron sponsors. You can hold your applause until the end. We want to make sure we thank Amazon, CBS Colorado, Connect for Health Colorado, the Denver Art Museum, Denver International Airport, CHFA, First Bank, Denver Museum of Nature and Science, Jacobs, Visit Denver, and Excel Energy, our gold patrons. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bravo. I know it's hard to clap and eat at the same time. Our silver sponsors and patrons are the Colorado Trust, Davis, Graham, and Stubbs LLP, Huntington Bank, John Manville, and RTD. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to all presenting sponsors and contributing sponsors. Again, we couldn't do this without you giving your support. I want to thank all of our elected officials. I'm not going to list everybody because I probably will miss someone, but would all of our elected officials please stand up and be recognized? Thank you for your hard work. Can we give our elected officials who snuck away from City Hall or the Capitol to grab a bite? Thank you for your hard work. And if I could just have about 90 seconds of just a little bit of quiet, I want to recognize an important policymaker and political leader in our community. Mayor Wellington E. Webb was the first Black mayor of Denver, our 42nd mayor, a 3-term mayor, and when he left office, his approval rating was 70%. Can we just acknowledge Mayor Wellington E. Webb? He's over on this side of the room. Thank you, sir. I've always thought there should be some sort of story or documentary that's called The Dynamic Duo, and it'll be featuring Mayor Webb and the Honorable Mrs. Wilma J. Webb. Thank you for all you do for Denver and the state of Colorado and our community as large. Your being here is really special, not just to give you a chance to say hi to friends and colleagues that you maybe haven't seen in a while. Some of us are still kind of coming out of that COVID mode. But the proceeds from today's event will be donated to Denver Kids. They will select and award Martin Luther King Jr. College scholarships to minority and non-traditional students. By your participation here today, you are helping to make the educational dreams of many students come true. Now, on your table, you might find some little envelopes. Those are some thank you cards for, again, your being here today, and you might want to check them out. They're really special. And just a quick fun fact about Denver Kids, 86% of the students in class of 2023, 86% graduated high school on time. That's worthy of a big applause. Now, please welcome our two presenting sponsors, Sean Yates from Molson Coors and Maureen McDowell from Health One, as they present a gigantic check from today's proceeds to Jay Grimm of Denver Kids.
Thank you so much, Tamara. It's wonderful to have you again this year. You have such a long legacy with this luncheon, like Stephen. And thank you, Stephen and team, for creating such an inspiring event. Congratulations to our honorees today. I know so many of you, and those I don't know, I'm really eager to learn more about you. Thank you for your impact in communities and also for showing us the way, modeling the way in leadership. Jay, I want to welcome you to Denver Kids, an organization that we at Health One have supported for many years. We really appreciate the chance to engage with students who may not have had the traditional supports to get started on their way to success. The students that Jay and his team serve at Denver Kids are tomorrow's leaders, certainly in healthcare and in many other industries. So thank you. We at Health One have a mission of, above all else, the care and improvement of human life. Health One is also actively working in high schools and in post-secondary institutions to provide career exposure around healthcare for students who might wish to become tomorrow's caregivers. We do this through training and volunteerism and many, many clinical rotations. The company of which Health One is a part, HCA Healthcare, has supported historically Black universities and Hispanic in serving institutions with gifts totaling over $10 million. We also focus in other ways to support diverse audiences with health equity, with access for patients, mental health supports for community and our colleagues, and ways to help our youngest children and their families thrive. On behalf of the board members who are with us today, Christine Bonero, our board chair from Mile High United Way, Michael Niampong from the Mirage Foundation, and Elaine Torres from CBS, as well as our 11,000 colleagues in the metro area in 7 hospitals. Thank you. Thank you for creating a really important event on a very important day that reminds us of the value of community.
Hello. On behalf of Molson Coors, I'd like to thank the MLK Junior Business Awards for allowing us the privilege to continue to support you. Congratulations to all the Business Awards recipients, and especially congratulations to Denver Kids on receipt of this donation. It's our pleasure to support Denver Kids. May the award help the kids bolster their wings as they prepare to fly. Thank you very much.
I'm going to want that back here in a minute. Good afternoon. I'm Jay Grimm, the proud CEO of Denver Kids, and what an honor to be here today with such a distinguished group of people at an event that's helped hundreds and hundreds of students at Denver Kids since the early 2000s. So, and what an honor to be amongst so many businesses that exemplify and embody the spirit and values of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you, Molson Coors and Health One. Your contributions ensure that every student graduates, pursues post-secondary options, and achieves their dreams. I want to acknowledge the amazing students we have with us here. Let's give them a round of applause. As well as our staff and some board members, they are the foundation of our work. So again, thank you for supporting us and all that we do. Together, we're making a profound difference in the lives of Denver's and this country's future leaders. Enjoy. Thank you.
Congratulations, Denver Kids. Keep up the great work. One of the really fun parts of being a part of this project is to be able to produce the video that we show at the luncheon, because I get to meet so many really wonderful people that are just doing the hard work to make not just Denver, but the state of Colorado and sometimes throughout the country and the world just a better place to live. And so now you're going to be able to meet those folks through the magic of video. Here are this year's distinguished winners, each of whom has clearly worked very hard to make Dr. King's dream come true. Today, we celebrate the content of their character. This production was made possible through the generosity of CoBank. I want to thank them. Thank you.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Dr. King once said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" The humanitarians we honor today clearly understand Dr. King's call and are answering by making dramatic improvements in the lives of so many others. Today, we celebrate the content of their character.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tamara Banks, and welcome to the 2024 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Business Awards, as we honor 6 inspirational businesses in our community and pay special tribute to one of our civil rights pioneers with the Trailblazer Award. This year marks the 39th anniversary of this event.
In 1986, 2 years after the passage of House Bill 1201, which established Dr. King's birthday as a holiday in Colorado, Mrs. Wilma J. Webb founded the Martin Luther King Jr. Business Social Responsibility Awards. The event gives the business world an opportunity to honor the memory of Dr. King and reaffirm their commitment to the values he taught us. 9 years ago, the name of the award was shortened to the Martin Luther King Jr. Business Awards. A total of 272 corporations, individuals, and nonprofit organizations have received this meaningful award over the years. Today, we add 7 more names to this distinguished list.
Covering Colorado first, and today is Mental Health Action Day, a day where we are...
A true community partner, CBS Colorado embraces its commitment to inclusion, diversity, and equity, inside the TV station and out in the community. Elevating Latino voices and elevating Black voices are CBS News Colorado programs that shine a bright light on Latino and Black Coloradans who've made lasting contributions.
I think oftentimes those individuals have not had an opportunity to share their voice. They have not had that opportunity to tell their stories. We want to make sure we are telling those stories because those are very vibrant communities within this market.
CBS Colorado is committed to impactful local journalism from all Colorado communities.
I'm your reporter up in the mountains. Aurora is my home.
Covering Colorado first. In Denver. In Castle Rock.
In Brighton, I'm Alan Janae. Justin Adams.
We're telling the stories that matter to you.
Such a big impact.
And I'm your Northern Colorado reporter.
With that goal in mind, a new approach to covering the news was launched in 2023.
What we've done is we've assigned 17 journalists currently to 10 cities, counties, and regions across Colorado, and they're embedded in those communities. The news then comes up from the communities. So rather than the newsroom deciding what the stories should be that day, the news instead comes from our communities.
Each year, CBS Colorado donates thousands of dollars in cash, airtime, and production services to many community organizations.
So whether it's connecting in celebration of something or of somebody, or just coming together to be able to support the community during a really difficult time, bringing people together, connecting people, and sharing those voices is very important and probably more important than ever.
Founded in 1893 as the Denver Artists Club, today the Denver Art Museum is one of the largest art museums between Chicago and the West Coast.
It was really an artist club. And then I think over the decades, it really morphed into a more and more serious museum.
In 2000, they selected world-famous architect Daniel Libeskind to expand the museum campus. The Frederick C. Hamilton Building opened in 2006. Many of the museum's collections reflect the culture of the people from this part of the world.
The real interesting thing about the Denver Art Museum is we collected works by Native American art for almost 100 years now. And we did not collect it as anthropological collection to show how different peoples lived at different times, but really to collect it under artistic excellence.
And the Western American collection has grown to be one of the top collections of its kind. The Denver Art Museum is an encyclopedic museum, meaning art from all over the world can be seen right here. Artists from Nigeria, Ethiopia. Amako Bafu is a young artist from Accra, Ghana, whose exhibition, Soul of Black Folks, focuses on Black life.
And that's what really excites me about the Denver Art Museum, that we have so many different cultures under our roof. And of course, we don't only want to look at them with a white angle or a perspective from a Caucasian male in this case, but we really want to bring as many voices together.
The Denver Art Museum is also committed to community outreach, like participating in events such as Juneteenth and the Dragon Boat Festival. The Diverse Business Center at the American Red Cross of Colorado and Wyoming is the result of an idea created by Murugan Palani with Denver Public Schools and Gino Greco, CEO of the American Red Cross of Colorado and Wyoming.
We provide them a place to be where they need to be, to provide collaboration in and amongst them, and to partner with us to help develop some of our own competencies.
The suite of offices, training rooms, and meeting spaces was opened in April of 2019 to house the Asian Chamber, Colorado Black Chamber, Hispanic Chamber, LGBTQ Chamber, and the Rocky Mountain Indian Chamber.
It's given to us complimentary, and it is really so wonderful.
And the Diverse Business Center also benefits the Red Cross.
Being able to build a bridge with communities and come alongside communities so that they better know us and we better know them, and ultimately they think of themselves as part of the Red Cross as well as the Red Cross as part of their community, allows us to serve more people, to serve them more equitably, and really to serve people generally better.
The purpose of these chambers of commerce is to provide culturally competent economic development and business opportunities to members, partners, and sponsors. With a co-working space within the offices of the American Red Cross, these chambers enjoy a more efficient flow of collaboration and idea generation.
We are really giving professional services. We're very sincere in what we do. And I think you really need a brick and mortar to be able to present that.
In 1908, the Colorado Museum of Natural History opened its doors to the public. The name was changed in 1958 to the Denver Museum of Natural History. By that time, more than 1 million people had visited.
So the secret to this is really our temporary exhibits.
The almost 750,000 square foot museum's name was changed again to the Denver Museum of Nature and Science in 2000. More than 4 million artifacts and specimens paint a picture that illustrates how all living beings, past, present, and future, are all connected. For example, all creatures look at the same moon. For centuries,
The mastodons looked at that supermoon, and I looked at that supermoon on August 30th. So we're all connected back through time, and in eons, our progeny will look at that supermoon as well.
in the early days of the museum, only about 10% of the visitors were people of color. So the museum created the Curiosity Cruiser in 2022.
We built the Curiosity Cruiser to go to fairs and festivals to engage with the communities where they are.
In 2023, the Curiosity Cruiser served almost 30,000 people in 50 locations, including events like Denver Pride Fest, Juneteenth, and Cinco de Mayo. Today, more than 30% of visitors are from diverse backgrounds. Opening doors to science and history can leave quite an impression.
A few years ago, right when I first got here, we were at a reception in Fort Collins, and there was an astronaut there, a woman astronaut. And somebody asked her why she became an astronaut. And she said, because I went to the Denver Museum of Nature and Science when I was a kid.
The world is often riddled with strife and divisiveness, but the Denver Museum of Nature and Science can bring people together.
The tagline for our next strategic plan is, we create belonging and hope through nature and science. And I believe that's something we're called to do today that really is important to today's world.
Jacobs is a global company solving the world's most critical problems, while being mindful of the impact their work has in neighborhoods and on families, like development at the National Western Center in the Elyria-Swansea neighborhood.
The impact of that neighborhood is big. That's a huge project. A lot of construction, several years. How do we make sure the kids are safe walking to school?
With 61,000 employees worldwide, including offices in Denver, Jacobs' action plan for advancing justice and equity was born out of the murder of George Floyd in 2020. Led by the Arambe Group, the Black Employee Network.
They were emotional conversations, very emotional conversations. People talking about being afraid for their children, being afraid for themselves, worrying about their mental health at work.
And Jacobs encourages its employees to make the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday a day of service.
And so we ask people to go out and then report back to us and let us know. What'd you do? How'd you do? Did you go to a church function? Did you go to a rally? Did you go to cleanup in your community?
Under the Together Beyond program, Jacobs has created 8 employee networks and pledged more than $10 million over 5 years to the Black community for STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics education.
we're going to plant a seed. And with that seed, it'll go well beyond those 5 years.
Scholarships committed to historically black colleges and universities like Drake State Community College have created a partnership with NASA. Then NASA hires students to create 3D facilities on the moon.
And they're doing things literally out of this world.
Around the world and within the company, Jacob's goal is to make sure everyone is seen, heard, and valued.
We succeed when we stop and listen to each other's stories, we stop and understand each other's cultures. And the beautiful part about that is then both of our talents can thrive.
U.S. Bank is committed to a culture of diversity, from the workforce to supplier diversity to their community involvement. U.S. Bank's approach to DEI is all about creating a place where people know they belong, their voices matter, and their ideas are valued. For example, they have 10 BRGs, Business Resource Groups. The most recent one added, the Black Heritage Group.
We're really very, very proud of this work because it connects employees to a greater network where they feel seen, valued, and heard.
And they believe that small businesses like taco trucks and mom and pop restaurants are the heartbeat of the community.
So we know that if U.S. Bank can help power that potential, that really changes lives, changes generations, and changes the way that people live.
In 2021, U.S. Bank launched a unique long-term approach to addressing the racial equity gap.
We have a program called Access Commitment, specifically structured and created to help Black-owned businesses, BIPOC and Hispanic-owned businesses in our community.
And U.S. Bank is embedded in diverse communities focused on bringing arts, culture, and business together.
Making sure that we're supporting programs, projects, initiatives of organizations like Cleo Parker Robinson Dance.
They even have a branch in the heart of the 5 Points neighborhood.
We were proud to have the first African-American woman physician, Justina Ford, on the mural. And it's a special place. We always say that if you want to be a part of a community, you have to be in the community.
In 2007, we began honoring pioneers in the civil rights movement with the Trailblazer Award. The 18th winner of this prestigious honor is Peggy Wortham. Born and raised in Danville, Virginia, Peggy Wortham remembers white and colored signs above the water fountains at the courthouse.
And then we couldn't eat at the counters at that time.
Just the thought of the discrimination she endured evokes deep emotion and traumatic memories. The future civil rights pioneer remembers how she and her fellow students were doused with water hoses while trying to get African Americans registered to vote in her hometown.
I have to really be thankful and appreciate my mom because she let her 16-year-old daughter go off to Washington, D.C. But my mom knew that I'd have a better life probably in Washington, D.C. than we did in Danville because it was just so racist and so segregated.
In August of 1963, Peggy attended the historic March on Washington with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Everywhere she looked, she saw Black excellence. Harry Belafonte, Mahalia Jackson, John Lewis, and of course, Dr. King himself.
A really good feeling to be around Black people who were really trying to do something positive for other Black people. It was my first introduction to hearing, about how you could, change, how the system could be changed. And I think that's what set things in motion for me.
Peggy moved to Colorado in 1964, where she later graduated from Metropolitan State University.
Metro was a real good experience because Senator Gloria Chandler was there at the time. She was involved. Edna Mosley was there, involved at Metro.
While in Denver, Peggy worked with the Civil Rights Commission, the Urban League, and the NAACP to improve housing discrimination for Black people. In her 50 years in Denver, Peggy has been a vital thread in the tapestry of our community. She started out with Governor Richard Lamb and ended with Mayor Wellington E. Webb. In the Webb administration, Peggy helped fulfill the dream of Mayor Webb and Mrs. Wilma J. Webb of making sure the city had a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. statue at Denver City Park that residents could be proud of.
I remember one night, 2 o'clock in the morning, we were up working on the project to make sure that the statue was erected and also on time and also had the money to do the things that needed to be done.
She was also instrumental in making sure the Blair Caldwell African American Research Library became a reality. Peggy worked as an assistant to Councilman William Bill Roberts and assistant to Larry Borum, director of the Urban League of Metropolitan Denver. After leaving the Denver mayor's office, Peggy assisted with various mayoral campaigns, including Willie Brown in San Francisco, Lee P. Brown in Houston, and Bernard Kincaid in Birmingham. And she worked at the Democratic National Headquarters in Washington, D.C. But this civil rights pioneer says one of the most important ways to make a difference is to vote.
If you don't get out and raise your voice and talk about things that you don't like, if you're not involved in it, then you can't complain.
Dr. King's memorable words of love, hope, and compassion have clearly stirred the souls of the humanitarians we honor today with the 2024 Martin Luther King Jr. Business Awards. We celebrate the content of their character and applaud their efforts to make life better for so many people in Colorado.
Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
A special thank you and shout out to my photographer and editor, Janine Trudell, who shot that and edited that for us. And now here's your chance to meet our honorees up close and personal. Please welcome to the podium the Honorable Wilma J. Webb and Vern Howard to give the presentations. We've got a photo up here, so we're going to choreograph a little bit. Where's Bernard? Okay, I'm just kidding. He's always on it. First, CBS Colorado, accepted by Elaine Torres. Awesome. Congratulations to my friends and colleagues in news. Congratulations, CBS Colorado. Next, the Denver Art Museum, accepted by Christoph Heinrich. I think Christoph has one of the coolest jobs to kind of just hang around the art museum every day. Congratulations. Our next honoree, the American Red Cross Diverse Business Center, accepted by Gino Greco. Gino is also accepting the Best Dressed Guy in the Room award. Congratulations. Our next recipient, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, accepted by George Sparks. George has this sort of Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, kind of vibe to him. And when he's down there in the museum with all the bones and stuff, he kind of really looks like him. Congratulations to the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. Our next recipient, Jacobs, accepted by Jamal Williams. Jacobs is one of those cool companies that you've never heard of, but they're everywhere doing incredible things. It's a great photo. Congratulations again. Our next honoree, U.S. Bank, accepted by Alfonso Hawkins. U.S. Bank, the Five Points branch is one of my many banks because I have so much money, but that's one of the great. Why do I need 4 banks? But they are an amazing bank. They are in the community for sure. Look at the camera, Vern. And our final, congratulations, U.S. Bank. Our final 2024 Martin Luther King Jr. Business Award honoree, our Trailblazer Award honoree. Please welcome the amazing Peggy Wortham. Congratulations, Peggy, wearing her red. Delta red. Not to be confused with any other kind of red, the Delta red, of course. Congratulations. And now, Dr. Howard, Vern Howard, you're going to have to escort Ms. Webb down. Vern Howard will introduce our keynote speaker today, who is the icing on top of this wonderful cake.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to forgive me because earlier today when we were presenting Stephen Strait with his recognition, we forgot to mention that these awards will be named after Stephen Strait moving forward. You can Google whatever you want to know about our keynote speaker. So I'm just going to take a little personal advance here, if I may. When I first heard of Mayor Johnston, it was one of our longtime commissioners who worked with us, and she said, "I've never met a more dedicated, a more sophisticated, and a more meaningful person who can run for office." As a former educator, she said to me, she said that he is going to bring to the State House exactly what we need when it comes to education. What a lot of you may not know is he's actually very adversed in Black history. He's a person who believes in passion and the very words that Dr. King spoke of about equality. He came to our church when he was running for mayor, and I walked over to him. I said, "Hey, Mr. Mayor," and he said, "Not yet, we're working on it." I said, "No, sir, you're going to be the next mayor of Denver." He was with a young man named Chase and Max Haynes, and he said, "You sound certain." I said, "I'm so certain that we have you scheduled for the Business Awards and for the Marade." And he laughed, and this young man, Brother Deacon Barry Monzel, took a picture with him out in the foray, and he said, "All right, Mr. Mayor, it's done." I want to say this, that it's nice to have someone who believes in Dr. King's dream that took place in 1963 when he started the Poor People's Campaign. When Mayor Johnston was elected, he said that he was going to get 1,000 on-house people off the street by the end of the year. A lot of folks thought it was a pipe dream. He's a visionary. He is someone who knows how to make things happen and bring them to fruition. Without any further ado, I'll introduce the son, present the others, Denver's 46th mayor, Mr. Michael, the Honorable Michael Johnston.
Well, hello, great to see you all. Thank you so much for being here on this incredibly important day. Before I start, I do just want to take a moment to honor the profile of courage that is Wilma Webb. I don't know, yes, you can give her many rounds of applause. For those of you who don't know the story, Wilma Webb brought the bill to make the Dr. King holiday a holiday not one time, not two times, not three times, but four times until she finally succeeded, even at the cost of then having her own leadership seat taken away from her for this courage. And amazingly, she found a way to get this done with bipartisan support. Like in a time where people think nothing small is possible, she actually made the biggest of things possible by bringing people together. Just want to tell you how lucky we are in this state to have you, Representative Webb. I do just want to share what a profound honor it is for me to be able to give this keynote. Probably long before I ever thought I'd end up as the mayor, I would have dreamed of being able to do this. My mom will tell stories when I was 5 and 6 and 7 years old. I used to get up on the fireplace and try to memorize the I Have a Dream speech and then recite it for all of my family on Christmas. Spent every January watching the Eyes on the Prize series over and over and over. In fact, it was Dr. King that was the reason I took my first job as a school teacher in Mississippi, because the last thing he worked on was the Poor People's March, which was trying to take folks out of Mississippi back to the nation's capital to focus on poverty. I wanted to see how much had changed in Mississippi since that Poor Person's March had marched out. And you know, when I was 10 or 15 or 20 or 25 and I hit very hard decisions, it was always my dad that I went to for advice. And when you were navigating those difficult moments, you go to him, and that word matters. I lost my dad 8 years ago, and now I feel like in those moments where the problems are the hardest, where you're trying to figure out how to be a better husband or a better father or a better community member, I miss him the most, you know, and wish I could find him now to ask him those questions again. I feel the same way about Dr. King, which is when you see the crises we face in our city today, or in our politics today, or in our country today, I wish we just had him back for one more sermon. What would he say if he were here today to speak about what our city faces right now? What would he say about how we handle the crisis of homelessness, or how we handle unprecedented numbers of migrants who are coming to the city, or how we handle a political division unlike maybe we've seen since his time? Well, the great news is when I go looking for what he would have written in the next chapter, I always go to what he wrote in the last chapter. And I brought this book because I've owned this book since I was 13 years old. It's a testament of hope. It's every single word that Dr. King ever wrote. Like all books that you love, the spine is always broken in one location. And for me, that spine is broken on what I think is maybe the most profound and prophetic speech in American history, which is the last speech that Dr. King ever gives. It's the speech of April 3rd, 1968 at the Mason Temple in Memphis, the night before he's assassinated in Memphis. And he gets called out there in the middle of a storm. And he gives the speech that many people remember as the mountaintop speech, or the if I had sneezed speech, or the speech about labor activation or corporate boycotting. I mean, it is to many people many things. But to me, there are three little gems in that speech. They're the ones I go back to, which is why this is where my crease is broken in this book, that I do think give me guidance in these moments. Because I think when we feel the most lost, I go to that person who I think of as having the best moral compass of maybe any American in the 20th century. When it feels hard to find our way out of the darkness, I go looking for light in these pages from someone who I think was maybe our greatest lighthouse for justice. And in that speech that night, he opens with an interesting story where he talks about if he had to talk to God and God had asked him at any moment in history that he wanted to live. He tells the story about flying through all of the other moments in history and asking God, please, just to allow him to live a couple of days in today. And he says for that, he says, now that's a strange statement to make because the world is all messed up. The nation is sick, trouble is in the land, confusion is all around. That's a strange statement. But I know somehow that it's only when it's dark that you can see the stars. When I think about some of the challenges we face in this moment, I think about the crisis I was attending to yesterday, which is, yes, today we have now almost 5,000 migrants living in shelter in our city tonight. They have walked 3,000 or 4,000 miles to get here. They are fleeing a country that has 34,000% inflation, has people being murdered for dissent, and they're trying to find their way to a country that had said, send me your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. And I was at this camp where we were helping move people, and I was walking around, and at each site, people would ask me the same questions. You know, why can I please just get a job? I don't need any help. All I want is the ability to work. Can I please get a job? And I was at this encampment, and I walked through probably for an hour and talked to people and must have answered that same question 30 times. And after that, held an entire press conference answering that question again for another 10 minutes. And after it's over, I was going to leave, and as I'm walking to get in the car, a man who I'd seen, he'd followed me the whole time, been on my shoulder for the full hour, listened to everything I'd said. He tapped me on the shoulder, and he says, Mr. Mayor, look at me. I walked 3,000 miles to get here. So I have big hands. I have a strong back. I have a big heart. All I want to do is to work. I want to help your city. Can I do that? And I wanted to say, well, didn't you just hear that question I answered 27 times about this very topic for the last hour when you've been standing right next to me? Then I realized that wasn't his question. He wasn't asking me, is this the law? He was asking me, is this justice? Is this what you think is fair? Is this what you think you committed to when you said we hold these truths to be self-evident that all are created equal? He was asking what King had asked, which is America going to default on the promissory note we wrote when we penned the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution? That was his deeper question. And I didn't have an answer to that question. And so I realized in those moments, we do what King did. We do what Wilma Webb did. We fight, and we advocate, and we push to change the laws that are unjust, and we refuse to follow laws that we think are still unjust. And so we will, thank you. I will go to DC next week and push and lobby for change on work authorization, for change on federal funding, for change on coordinated entry plans, so that we can show people both the dignity and the humanity they deserve in a way that supports them to succeed and supports our city to succeed. And that is what I believe, that in those moments where it feels the darkest are actually the moments it's clear enough to see the stars. There are stars here. There are solutions to these problems. It just takes us to come back to the question he asked me, which is not, is this the law? Is this just? And the second part of this speech that King gives, which I love so much this night, is he tells the story about the time that he and Coretta went to Jerusalem for the first time, and they rode the drive from Jerusalem to Jericho, which is, of course, the location where the story of the Good Samaritan happens. And he says, I realized when I took that road why it was the site of the parable, because it is a dangerous road. It is curvy and high mountains, and there feels like there could be robbers behind every turn. And so I realized the parable, of course, is that when the Levite and the priest walked by the man who was laying on the ground, he said, the problem is in that moment is the priest and the Levite asked themselves the wrong question. They asked themselves the question, if I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? Because they could have been right. It could have been a setup. He could have been faking it. He could be ready to be robbed. He said the power of the Good Samaritan is that he reverses the question. He asks himself, if I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? And that is the question that pushes us forward. When we started this mission to try to get 1,000 people off the streets and into housing, There were many people who had many hard questions, who said, well, what will happen to the property values in my neighborhood? Well, what if we spend too much money on this? What if folks don't deserve the ability to get housing because they haven't gotten clean yet? That is all versions of the wrong question, which is, if I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? We asked ourselves a different question for which the story is quite clear, which is, if we do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? I will tell you what will happen. In 2023, we set a record you never want to set, which is the most Denver residents who died outside on these streets in the history of this city. People talk about the numbers of 1,000 people inside. Let me talk about the number that matters to me. As of December 10th of this year, we had lost 311 people that had died outside on this city, almost one a day, every single day. We knew winter was coming. We knew it was going to be cold and 5 degrees, and we knew we wanted to get folks inside and into housing. On December 10th, we started moving people in massive numbers out of encampments and into housing, housed more than 800 people from December 10th to December 31st. From December 10th, after 311 people had died outdoors, until the end of 2023, we did not lose a single person on the streets of Denver. That's what a city that asks itself the right question is capable of doing. I'll close with this story. You say, okay, Mike, that sounds great. I understand I should ask myself, what will happen to this man if I don't help? I understand we should look for the stars even in moments of darkness. But how do you do that in a moment when I post a photo of my kids on social media and someone responds by saying, why don't you stop helping those damn illegal immigrants? Right? How do you do it in a moment of such heated political division that it feels impossible to even have easy conversations, let alone hard conversations? And Dr. King opens this story about the Good Samaritan with just one incredibly powerful line, which is he says, let us develop a kind of dangerous unselfishness. The idea that we are so willing to serve others, we're even willing to put ourselves at risk to do it. Amen. And I will tell you, when I was a kid, I was a hot-tempered, emotional, stubborn kid. Many of you are not surprised to hear me say that, probably. But I had a brother who was very different. And what would happen was whenever I would start fighting, I would start taking swings at him, he would do the most amazing of things, which is he would actually open his arms and hold me closer. Which seems like a crazy and dangerous thing to do, because when you have the choice of either fighting or retreating, opening your arms wide open is one way to get hurt. It is also the only way to get healed. And what my brother realized is that it might make sense to respond with fists if you get attacked by someone that's a stranger. It makes no sense when that someone is your brother. All that meant for me to learn now is that in this city there are no strangers. There are only brothers and sisters, which means while our inclination may be to fight or to run, if we want to walk into the world with a sense of dangerous unselfishness, we have to do it by insisting on doing it with our arms wide open. And so when we decided we wanted to try to get 1,000 people housed in 5 months, which is faster and more than any city in America had ever done before, we knew we were going to have a lot of conversations. We held 60 town halls all across the city. And I will tell you, all the folks in those town halls were not excited to see me. In fact, when I walked in the door, sometimes the boos would just rain down as soon as I walked into the auditorium. But we came to one, and we got the advance call. There were 1,000 people there. And my security detail said, we got some really angry people at the front door, so we're going to take you to the back door. I said, great, let's go in the front door. And we walked in the front, and you stood there and shook everybody's hand as they walked in the door, and some folks refused to shake my hand, and some folks were angry, and our family got death threats. But what we got to was the understanding that anger is a secondary emotion. Anger is only there because it is representing what is underneath, which is either sadness or fear. And so when I walked into one of these events and people were very upset about us potentially opening a shelter for homeless folks in their neighborhood. I watched during the crowd for the first half hour. There's one woman who really, really wanted to raise her hand. And the group didn't get to her, and so I said, I think we should hear out her question. And she stood up, and she was angry. And she yelled at me and told me how much danger we were going to bring to her neighborhood and why she was afraid for her children. And she got a giant round of applause, and everybody clapped. And instead of responding to her anger, I spoke to her fear, which is, I understand you raise kids in this neighborhood. I raise them too. We want to make sure those kids are safe every single day. And we also want to make sure the folks that are at risk of freezing to death outside your house are also safe every day. And as that event was over, I stayed and talked to people before they left, and she waited a long time to talk to me, and I went up ready for whatever she might need to say again, and she said, thank you. I'm just afraid. But I really do want to help. Is there something I can do? And I threw my arms wide open. And she gave me a big hug. And she became a volunteer in the effort to try to successfully say, we believe we can walk into the world with a dangerous unselfishness. I will say the last day with my dad, I got to be with him when he passed. And you go through that day not sure what to say at the end. And so I started sharing with him. I just felt like he needed to know that he had done such a great job. And so I just started telling him about, mom is okay. She's taken care of, she's happy, she has a wonderful life. My brother Johnny is great, his kids are okay. My 3 kids are wonderful thanks to the life you have given us. We are all taken care of. And he turned to me, and the single last thing he ever said to me was, that's what we're here for. That we're all taken care of. That's what we're here for. I keep that final note of his with me all the time on the long days. We are grateful for the fact that Dr. King left us a final note too. And that note is, be joyful in the struggle, because it is only when it's darkest when we can see the stars. That is, never stop asking ourselves, if I don't stop to help this man, what will happen to him? And it is practicing a dangerous unselfishness, because walking into the world with arms wide open is one way to get hurt, but it is still the only way to get healed. And if we stand in those beliefs, if we hold those close, then actually his final words come alive. The last paragraph he ever spoke in public that night before he walked off the stage at the Mason Temple, when he said, we've got some difficult days ahead, but it doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land. And I want you to know that we as a people will get to the promised land. I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. And I'm happy tonight. I'm not fearing any man, because mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Johnston. There's difficult issues to tackle for this city and other cities, but it takes somebody with a character of integrity and a heart to lead. And Denver has been blessed with amazing mayors, and Mayor Johnston continues that legacy. To give us our final word, please welcome Lauren Furman, the President and CEO of the Colorado Chamber of Commerce, one of our presenting, coordinating sponsors.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Johnston, for your incredibly inspiring words and the hard work that you're doing here on behalf of the city. Let's give him another round of applause. That was an amazing, amazing speech. Thanks for all you do. And thank you, everyone, for being here today. It's a true honor for us to be here. The Colorado Chamber played a very, very small role in the celebration of this day and the inception of this day back in 1994 when the Colorado Chamber was called Casey. Some of you may remember that. In the spirit of true collaboration, we worked together to get a bill passed like we've talked about on behalf of Honorable Wilma Webb. Really appreciate that collaboration with the Honorable Wilma Webb. Let's give her another applause. Such an important time. We're going to continue that celebration by recognizing the role that business and business leaders play in bringing forth the spirit of Dr. King and the importance of coming together. So thank you, everyone. So congratulations to all of today's honorees who exemplify the values of Dr. King and make Colorado the great state that it is today. Thank you. This is where we part and conclude our program today. Please come join us next year on January 17th for the 40th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Business Awards event. Thank you for being here. Be safe, be warm, enjoy the holiday. Thank you, everyone.